Welcome to our Doo Wop Journey. Hi, I'm Rob Albanese, President of LAR Enterprises, producer and promoter of Doo Wop music throughout the United States. Let me introduce you to our host for our journey, Mr. Cool Bobby B from Sirius XM Radio, 50s on 5.
Thanks, Rob, and welcome to a great show. We're going to take you on a fantastic Doo Wop journey with some great interviews and some great music. Let's get things started. We're with the great Bobby Lewis here in person backstage at the All-Star Doo Wop Weekend from LAR Enterprises. Bobby, it's so great to have you with us today.
Man, I can't tell you how great it is to be here talking with you at this late age of date, you know what I mean?
Well, you know, the name of our show is the Doo Wop Journey. So tell us how your musical journey got underway. Everybody wants to know.
Everybody wants to know because they can hardly believe that a lowly fellow as I was lucky enough to meet some people who admired my talent, namely like guys like Berry Gordy,
Yep.
you know, and Nat Tarnapoe,
Yep.
and people like that, you know, and a bunch of the DJs like Bobby J,
Yep.
out from New Jersey, you know,
Yep.
and Don K. Reed out of New York.
Yep.
Beautiful guys. I've worked with them, and I've been interviewed by them, and they have treated me exemplary.
And I think they should.
Yeah.
How did you jump into the music business originally?
Well, I started as a young boy, you know, when I was adopted out of the orphanage, about the age of 8, pushing 9, I guess you could say. Of course, at school, they singled me out to come up to the front of the class and mouth a few notes, you know, and everything, and asked me to write a theme song for the school.
Where was this?
In Indianapolis.
What was your theme song?
It was the one old one that everybody plays. I just copied it off of somebody. But it was very good, and they liked it. And what happened was the school just got loudspeakers.
Gotcha.
You know, and they wanted someone to say a few words or write something, you know, interesting, and go down to the office,
Right.
and put you on the air all over the school, you know.
Right.
You can imagine how nervous I was.
Oh, yeah.
And about 9 years old, you know. So we had a good time, and that's how it really started, you know. And of course, at church, I sang in church. We're a very enjoyable place to sing. And from that, I went on into, well, actually, I'm walking down the street on the stem. We call it Main Street for Afro-Americans.
In Indianapolis?
Yeah, Indianapolis.
Okay.
Our hood.
Okay.
And I saw a great big sign. It must have been 5 or 6 feet high up in the front of some, well, I guess they're condominiums or nice apartments, you know. And it said Ferguson Theatrical Agency.
Gotcha.
And you can imagine 5 and 6 feet high letters,
Yep.
and about 3 feet wide each one. And I said, now this must be an omen. I'm going to go in and see what this is all about, because letters that large and that bright and that definite, if you could say, I got to talk to this guy. So I went to his office. And he says, yes, can I help you? Kind of remind me of Sidney Poitier going to the school, the American School of Drama, you know, and in his book.
Right.
He tells you that he went to this director of this acting school, and the guy asked, can you read? And Sidney said, sure, I can read. You can't tell a guy, you know, that age, really, I guess he's still in his 20s or so. He says, of course I can read. He said, here, read this. And he gave him some script. And when he described how hard a time he had trying to read the script the director gave him, and he says, well, tell you what you do, boy. First you go and learn to read. Now, in Sidney's book, I've noticed 3 or 4 incidents that parallel my life. You know, his book is entitled "The Measure of a Man."
Gotcha.
You know.
So you went into this Ferguson office. Was there a Ferguson?
Yeah, yeah, there was a Ferguson.
Did he say, "Can you sing"? Is that what he said to you, or can you?
Yeah,
read,
I said,
or-
"Well, what do you do? What do you do?" I said, "Well, I sing and I dance and I tell jokes." He said, "Oh, well, we don't need none of that." He says, "I'll tell you what you do," he says. He says, "Here's the address of the park I want you to go to, and there'll be a band leader there, orchestra leader, 14 pieces at this local school or local park." And he says, "You talk to Mr. Hines, Leo Hines." It was the band leader's or orchestra leader's name. He happens to be the first cousin to Earl Father Hines.
Right.
So he said, "Will you tell him I sent you, and he'll put you on." So I went there, introduced myself. Leo says, "All right, okay, what you want to sing?" I said, "Well, let's do Darktown Strutter's Ball." You know, "I'll be down to get you in a taxi, honey. You better be ready about 8:30. And he says, "Okay, I'll tell you what you do. Be ready to leave because we're going on tour in 2 days. We'll pick you up at your house, and we'll take it from there."
Now, how old were you then?
It's about that. By that time, you know, I was out of grade school and was harping on trying to get out of high school. So I guess I was about at that time I was about maybe 16.
I mean, so that's amazing. You go up, you've never sung professionally, and all of a sudden you're on a big band tour going around the country.
Yeah.
How did you jump from that to doing tossing and turning and rock and roll?
Well, now you know the very popular and able, I should say. He's innovative. Wes Montgomery.
Yes, the guitar player.
Yeah, now he's from Indianapolis
Okay,
too.
okay.
And his brother Monk plays bass, and his boyhood friend, I know his last name is Johnson, but his sister's name is Lucy.
Okay.
Now, I had lost a gig with Leo and had gone with Wes Montgomery. The little trio,
Yep.
Yeah, trio, and well, actually it was a quartet: guitar, bass, drums, and guitar, bass, drum. He was on guitar, his brother on bass. Oh, his friend on the drums, and he's on the guitar.
Okay.
The most innovative guitar, I
Yes,
might add.
right.
And so I went on the road with Leo and his orchestra, but it didn't pan out very good because I'm too inexperienced, you know. But I gave it a good shot.
Yep.
And so after I left him, I went with back home, and Wes was playing in a lounge on the main stem, his own little band, and I went in there for the first time and saw him up there playing, and very friendly, nice mild, features he has. And I stayed there about 30 minutes, and I said, "Hey, can I sing?" Wes said, "Sure, come on up." I went on the bandstand and I did some blues. He liked it. He liked him, everything. So about 3 weeks that went on. So one evening I walked in, and the owner or the manager of the bar, or the show bar, a music bar, says to me, "Hey, Bobby, how would you like to go on tour with Duke Ellington?" I said, "What are you talking about?" He said, "Well, listen. The drummer is Wes's brother. I mean, is a very childhood friend. His sister is Lucy Johnson. She was working with featured vocalist with Duke Ellington at this time. See, So the owner of the manager of the bar, of the music bar, came to me and says, "How would you like it if I can get you some records?" And I said, "Yeah, that's what I need. I need a record, man." You know, he says, I think I can get you a record. He says, "My brother is the manager of Lucy Johnson, the brother of the drummer here. I had to go to Detroit, pick up a car, drive it to L.A. to meet Duke Ellington, because she was featured vocalist with Duke." And I said, "Sure." He says, "All right, meet me, I think it was at the bar." Oh, it was about 3-4 days later, because he has to get in touch with his brother. And he said, I'll call him and see if he can do anything for you." So when he says, "Okay, be here at a certain time, we're going to you take a bus to Detroit and pick him up in Detroit." So I just felt so alone, you know, all by myself on a bus, you know, and because on the tour wasn't a big success with Leo, but he's the sweetest trumpet player you ever want to hear. You got to put him in the category of Harry James, you know, and Herb Alpert. Just perfect pitch, perfect. Different phrases, you know, something that catches your ear. When the trumpet player catches your ear, man, he is top of the line, you know. And all three of those guys are top of the line.
I don't want to rush you, but we're kind of running out of time.
But I'm about to finish that.
Oh, okay.
I met him in Detroit. He picked up his car. I got in it. We drove from Detroit right on through San Diego, where we picked up Duke. And we rode with Duke and his band, orchestra, into L.A., where we went to the Oasis bar, or nightclub. Remember that, the Oasis? You ever heard of that?
Yep.
Yeah. And I'm standing on the floor, dance floor, watching people come in, and at the beginning of the show, and Duke came out. The band played about 2 songs. He had a male vocalist who came out and did his number. Lucy, I heard her do her number in San Diego, so I knew she had a beautiful voice, beautiful girl. Oh man, this girl is awesome. And I'm standing there looking at the band setting up for the show, and Duke came out, played some chord changes and played a couple songs. Then he looked at me and said, "Come on up." I'm on the floor, dance floor, at the apron of the stage. And I said, "Me?" He said, "Come on up here, come on up." And the other boys in the band, come on. And I went up there and I sang my usual good old blues. I'm a blues man, you know. And after I finished singing, Duke said, "Hey, that was good. That was really good." But, of course, he had a male vocalist, so there was nothing I could take his place, you know. He's not going to fire him just to put me on. He don't even know me, you know. But, I was good enough for him to say, "Okay, I'll be talking to you," you know. But I never said any more to him. But that was so nice of him to invite me to sing with his orchestra.
It's a big honor.
Oh, man, you couldn't get no more honor than that, man. You got the best drummer with Louis Bellson, Cat Stevens, and the best trumpet, and Mercer, you know, and a couple of other boys in the band. Everybody was very sweet, you know. Well, so that's how I really got into the business.
I want to thank you so much for talking with us.
Sure.
I wish we could talk for 10 hours, but we got a whole line of people we got to talk with.
All right.
It's really an honor.
Well, it's a pleasure to talk with you.
Thank you very much.
Whenever you need the urge, call me.
You got it. Bobby Lewis.
Tossing and turning.
I hope you're enjoying our amazing journey through the world of doo-wop music. I'm Cool Bobby B from Sirius XM and the 50s on 5. Join me every Sunday night from 9 to midnight with the Doo Wop Stop. and you want to find out about all the great, incredible live doo-wop performances that LAR Enterprises is bringing to you all over the world in the United States, there's one place to go, and that's the website. It's LARENTR.com. That's www.LARENTR.com. For LAR Enterprises, or just Google it, LAR Enterprises, and get all the info. Rob and Laura do an incredible job of bringing this incredible music to wherever you are. So come see us at one of our amazing live concerts. Just go to our website for the latest live concert information. It's LARENTR.com. We are very excited about having on our Doo Wop Journey TV show today, Robin Luke. Robin, thanks for being with us.
It's great to be here.
It's great to see you. And you know what? Our show is a Doo Wop Journey. In other words, what we're trying to find out is how people got the beginnings of their own musical journey. How did you get into the business?
Well, I think I could talk for hours, but nobody wants to hear that. But I would say that I really started because my mother loved music. She played the clarinet, she played the violin. My dad worked for Douglas Aircraft as a service rep, so we moved around a great deal, every year or 2 years. Well, when I was 5 years old, they bought me an Arthur Godfrey plastic ukulele, and I started playing it, and my mother was sort of amazed because I learned all the chords to all these nursery rhymes that I had on the little golden records that you'd play back then.
Right.
And I was 5 years old at that time, as I mentioned, and she was so impressed, she found out who the best guitar player in Atlanta, Georgia was, and went down, and here's this little Irish gal, about 4'9", saying, would you please teach my son to play the guitar? Well, the man's name was Perry Bechtel, and anyone who knows the guitar world knows of him. He looked at her and said, ma'am, I only teach professionals, and they come to my studio for clinics for 1 to 2 months. He was very famous. He was Eddie Peabody's partner in the banjo field. And to make a long story short, he told my mother to take me home and dress me up, practice, and come back. And he would tell her what to do with me. I can only imagine. And so really emotional for me because I did practice. And a week later, I came and did an audition with him for about 30 minutes singing nursery rhymes. Mm-hmm. And he said, I will teach him to play the guitar.
That's awesome.
And so that's really how I got into the love of music. He said, but you'll have to play a Gibson guitar, because he was endorsed by Martin and Gibson at that time. In fact, just a sidebar very quickly, he is most famous for inventing the 14-fret neck on a guitar. And today when you go to any guitar store, every guitar has 14 frets. He did it because he was using a 4-string plectrum banjo with do octaves. But with a 12-fret, where the body got in the way, he couldn't get up. And so he went to Martin, said, please make a 14-fret neck. Took him 2 years to do it right. And Perry is very famous, to the extent that Martin Guitar some years ago came out with their very first special edition instruments. And the first one they ever made was the OM28 Perry Bechtel model. I know that's not about me, but it's such an amazing story that this man that I never knew, I was just a little kid, was so accomplished. He made me practice for 1 year, running scales, learning how to read music, all downstrokes, no rock and roll in those days, and before I could play a song. And I've been playing ever since.
How did you make the jump from the child prodigy to rock and roll and get into the recording studio?
Very quick story on that. My parents moved to Hawaii. And as you can see, I've been wearing these shirts ever since.
Right.
I wrote a song, as kids would do, on the beach at Waikiki. And
how old were you then?
I was just turning 16.
Okay.
And I put my sister's name on it and named it Susie Darlin. A lot of people have said there's a mystery about Susie. Did she die? Because if you listen to the words of the song, there is some sadness in there. And quite honestly, I've always laughed at that because people always try to make more of something that it is. I just wrote the song. I put her name on it to keep me out of trouble with all the other girls at Punahou High School, and it worked pretty well. I sang this song at a variety show at Punahou, and a wonderful school. they had a big variety show with a fair. After that show, a guy came backstage and said, "You should make a record of that song."
Amazing.
And I'm 16. And I said, "Well, that would be a great idea." So he put me in touch with a man named Bob Bertram, who had a company called Bertram International. He basically recorded hula records for tourists. And we recorded Susie Darling in an apartment bedroom on a portable Ampex tape recorder. And I did most of the instruments overdubbing on this one little track of tape. And if you made a mistake, you had to start all over. So it took some time to actually get through 7 overdubs to make Susie Darling. We put it out in Hawaii. It was #1 for 6 months in Hawaii. Well, you only had to sell about 600 copies. It wasn't a state yet. This is 1958, at the beginning of 58. And a wonderful guy named Tom Moffat, who was the #1 DJ in Hawaii, played it every half hour for 6 months. I owe him a tremendous amount of gratitude. And I see him occasionally. He's still with us, and he's still doing a Saturday morning show on the internet. If you really want to hear old-time rock and roll, he's another one to give it to you.
Great.
And, well, the rest is history. During that time, a honeymooning couple from Dot Records heard it. They took it back to Randy Wood, who was the president of Dot and vice president of Paramount Pictures. He liked it. He bought the master. He put it out. Boom. Here I am. I get pulled out of school to do my first Dick Clark show, fly back to Hawaii. Now we're talking propeller airplanes,
Right.
Hawaii to LA to Philly and back. It exploded when I was on the first Dick Clark show. 13 Dick Clark shows later, Perry Como show, you know, on and on, all the big shows. It was a dream for me. I was humbled by what had happened. I was just a normal kid and trying to get through high school. And I think I was in high school about 4 weeks out of that last year, but they graduated me. And so at that point, I wanted to be close to Hollywood, and so did Dot Records. So I enrolled and got a degree at Pepperdine University. I had 31 songs over a career from 1958 to 64. A couple important things happened to me at that time. #1, I graduated from Pepperdine, and I loved to learn. It took me that long to figure it out. And it was probably that wonderful training I got at Punahou Academy, Punahou School. And that was the hardest school I ever went to. The other thing was that the Beatles invaded in '64 and killed rock and roll as we know it. And I love the Beatles, but that's rock. That's not rock and roll. And fortunately for me, I had decided to go to graduate school at the University of Missouri. And so I announced in Variety magazine in late February or March when I got accepted. It was front page news in Variety, Robin Luke quits showbiz. And I enrolled at University of Missouri, Columbia campus, got an MBA, kept going, got a PhD in business administration, and became a professor at Old Dominion University. Within 2 years, they were going to departments instead of divisions. So they asked me to start the marketing department from scratch. And I was the youngest and lowest ranked guy there. I was so full of myself, I thought, oh my heavens, I'm the chosen one.
Right.
But then about a month later, one of the old guys from the department came in and said, Robin, I just can't stand it anymore. I got to tell you, the only reason you're a department head is because none of us wanted to do it. And that was one of the most humbling experiences in my life. But for 34 of my 36 years, I was an academic administrator. I was sent by the government to the U.S. Virgin Islands, where I started graduate programs, and then was nominated to start the marketing department at Missouri State University in '84. And I went there thinking I would move on and do it again. I have been there now for over 27 years. And life is good in Missouri. I recommend it highly.
One more thing. I got to ask you this because you've been in the academic world for so long, but now you're back into performing. How does it feel?
It's wonderful. I started when oldies shows got popular. I did my first. I actually was out of the biz for years, because frankly, in academia, they don't think too highly of Robin Luke, the rock and roller, and so I withdrew from that. But then, big show in Hawaii in '97. Tom Moffat asked me to come back. Had 11,000 people there. It felt pretty good. They brought me back the next year, and then the oldie shows came up. I was very restrictive on myself, only letting myself go to maybe 2 a year.
Right.
Because I would go nowhere without my manager, and that's my wonderful wife, Mary.
Gotcha.
And well, it just started popping, and now I'm retired, and I'm very pleased to attend good old oldies shows, because for me, I get to see people that I haven't seen for 50 years. I just got off stage of a big show, and there's Johnny Tillotson behind me. I did shows with him at Pacific Palisades 54 years ago. And I wish people could realize there is a fraternity in the world of music. It's not based on race, creed, religion, or color. Everywhere I went, everyone was an equal there. And of course, being from Hawaii, which is very mixed anyway, I found that to be very comforting. But frankly, for me, I wanted to go on and get a degree. And I'll leave with this. My parents were wonderful. They never went to college. And they only asked 2 things of me all my life from about this high. 1, never embarrass us, which I think I failed at several times.
Right.
And 2, get a good education. Well, Mom and Dad, I think I did that. And very grateful for their guidance and leadership in my world.
Well, it's so great to have you with us. Thank you so much for joining us on the Doo Wop Journey.
It's a pleasure, and I hope everybody stays with Doo Wop and with the oldies.
You betcha.
You betcha.
Thank you.
Bye.
I stood watching all night long. I stood watching all night long. I stood watching till you went away. You were a girl of many charms. Oh, how I loved you in my arms. I never thought that you would ever go, 'cause I loved you so. Oh, Susie, darling.
I got to thank you, Rob. That was a fantastic show.
Yes, it was, Bobby, and I'm so glad we have the opportunity to bring this great music, this doo-wop journey, to everybody. Hope to see you all at the next show.